let's grow some mushrooms. All right, so we grew some mushrooms from a mushroom growing kit, and that was the Back to the Roots brand. But I decided, hey, there's so many different mushroom growing kits out there. Are there really much of a difference? And are any of them better than the others? So what I did is I bought 3 separate kits from 3 separate companies, all on Amazon. I'll have all the links in the description below so you can select the one that you're interested in. But I wanted to compare them to see what, if any, were the differences, and then, you know, does one produce better than the rest? So hey, that would be a good information for us to have. So we have Back to the Roots, we have North Spore, and we have Happy Caps. Now, what I did is to try to make this as even as possible is I selected the same mushroom type. So these are all oyster mushrooms. Now, I don't know if it's the exact same type of oyster mushroom. It looks like it's not, because North Spore is the blue oyster mushroom kit, where these two seem to be a lighter colored mushroom. Yeah, these are pearl mushrooms in the Back to Roots. I'm not seeing it, but I'm guessing these two are probably the same type of mushroom, where this is just a more exotic, but it's still in the oyster mushroom family. So that's what I did. We'll see how it goes. So we're going to start off with the Back to the Roots, and I'm going to do each kit separately together in this video, letting you know what the instructions are on the kit, how I felt, how easy or how difficult they were to follow, and if I had any questions. Now, the first thing is the North Spore and the Back to the Roots containers seemed more substantial, where Happy Caps was a bit smushy and it actually got smushed in delivery, but I don't think that's going to affect the production of the mushrooms themselves. So we're going to start with Back to the Roots, and this one I'm actually familiar with because I've grown this particular brand before. And so we're going to start with our instructions. Now there should be a kit inside here. Last time I was just like, oh, hey, there's a thing, let me do that. And then there were more instructions inside. So it's always good to be familiar with everything that's going on before you start going crazy. Now this time they have this cute little spray bottle to help me mist my mushroom block. They have more instructions. And they have the mycelium infused grow media as well in a plastic bag. So there is a little sticky note on the instructions from Back to the Roots. It says, no green thumb, no problem. Text mushroom to the specific number and we'll send you helpful reminders and tips throughout your mushroom growing journey. So that's kind of cool. I'm not going to do that because I get enough notifications on my phone. But if you need somebody to kind of just help you along, that might be a helpful thing for you. So let's go ahead and see what the instructions are. To start off, you want to give them light. So they want you to remove your kit's perforated panel and cut an X through the substrate bag. So this box is part of the kit. And as you can see here, there's a perforated panel. They suggest using scissors. I was doing the violence method, but all right, my perforation is removed. And now they want me to cut an X into the substrate bag. So the substrate bag, the top portion is folded over. So I'm going to do my first X on the side opposite the folded over section. That way I won't have to worry about folding over that part, but I know that there's more to come because, spoilers, we've done this before. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I'll put a link in the description below. It was really fun, and it's what inspired me to continue on my mushroom growing journey because it was just really fun and exciting. So let me get a knife. So I learned from last time that before you start cutting away, it's kind of a good idea to put your kit, your container, back into your kit first, with the side you intend to cut revealed by your perforation. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And I don't really have to seal it up. I just need to make sure that it's in its spot. And the reason why I suggest doing this is that way you won't get carried away with your cutting and cut beyond what is going to be exposed, because you're going to need to fold the flaps over that, and it can just get messy. So rather than being unruly, use this kind of as a template. And so I'm just going to cut an X from the top left corner to the bottom right corner, and then vice versa. That's how X's work, right? And there you can see my X all cut. So now I'm going to remove my bag again so I can see what I'm working with. And they want you to peel back the plastic very carefully, like so. And you will notice that you basically have a sawdust block that has been infused with the mushroom mycelium. And so all that white stuff that you see on top, that is the mushroom mycelium. And that is very important, because without that, you're not going to get any mushrooms to pin. Pinning is when the mushroom fruiting bodies start to develop, and they kind of look like little pins. All right, so now that we've peeled away our plastic like so, we're going to get a fork because they want us to scrape it. So I'll be right back. So they suggest that you lightly scratch away some of the white stuff, aka mycelium, with the fork. And this is to expose the substrate to air and moisture, and also give more texture that's going to help stimulate the pinning process that I was talking about earlier. So there you go. I just did it like that. And now they want you to put that in a bowl of water for 6 to 10 hours. They say remove the substrate bag from the box, which we did, and soak it face down, so this is the cut part down, in a bowl of water overnight, 6 to 10 hours. The bag will float, don't worry, some substrate falls out. So that's where we're at this point with the Back to the Roots kit. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, make sure that it's squirt bottle and this little perforation part and its instructions are back of the box so I won't lose anything. And then I'm going to get a bowl to soak this, and then we'll move on to the next kit. There's my bowl. I just put some tap water in there, just cool tap water, nothing hot. And now I'm going to make sure the flaps are open and put it in there upside down. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we scripted with a fork is floating around in there. I'm not worried about that because it told me not to worry about that. So far, the Back to the Roots instructions seem pretty straightforward and easy to follow, so I'm happy with that. Next up is North Spore. It has a sticker right on the top that is yellow, so it contrasts quite nicely with the black to get your attention. And it says, attention! Open box top first. Okay, well, thank you. And I think the reason why they want you to get that attention is so that you don't jump the gun and destroy the box or do something that's going to ruin the kit. So I appreciate that they brought that to my attention. Right on top, I have a different style of squirt bottle. This looks more like a misting vial. Fancy. And then there is a little thank you card on there that asks if you have any issues or questions or want to share. They have all that little information on that card for you. And then underneath that is your kit instructions. They thank you. They talk about their social media. They talk about other kits and how to continue growing mushrooms. And then, ooh, they even have some recipes here on what to do with your mushrooms once you grow them. And they say activating your kit. All right, they tell you what you should find in your kit. So they start off by saying, open the front of your kit along the perforated line. Inside you will see an amended sawdust block that has been colonized with mushroom mycelium. So it sounds like it's pretty much the same thing as the Back to the Roots kit, which is not surprising to me at all. What I am going to do is take out the grow block first so that I don't damage it. All right, so the first thing I notice is that the North Spore grow block appears to be double in size in compared to the Back to the Roots. I also noticed that the mycelium seems to be mostly in the top and this one side, where this corner and the bottom doesn't have much surface layer mycelium, but looking at it, I can see that it has mycelium within the block itself. All right, so now we're going to take care of this perforation. This is a slightly more delicate perforation, so I don't want to do the Hulk smash technique that I did with the Back to the Roots kit. So I'm just going to follow that with my knife. It is cutting super easy, even for the cutting impaired such as myself. If my technique here is making you cringe, just look away. Ta-da! All right, so we have our little panel removed. Our box is ready. Let's move on to the directions. So they put a little warning here. They want you to check and make sure that your kit is intact. Shipping can cause damage, and they want to make sure that you don't have any damage before you start getting to work on it. They even said that if part of it has been, like part of your block has broken within the bag, not to worry about it. You can just gently press it together and let your kit sit for an extra few days, and it should come back together. Because mycelium is basically just a network of fungi roots. They really don't have roots, but that's the best term I can use for that. So the block coming back together, the different parts of the mycelium are going to regrow and reconnect, and so it'll be fine. So the next thing they want you to do is, just like the Back to the Roots, is to slice an X into the plastic of the opening with a sharp knife or scissors. So again, I'm going to determine, I think this is the side that I want to cut. So I'm going to put it back in my box. Just use that opening as a guide. It seems to work for me to do it that way rather than just a haphazardly cut an X. So that is what I'm doing. All right, X is cut. All right, so now they don't want you to soak this. They actually want you to spray it. So they recommend that you fill your sprayer. So I'm going to go do that now. And they say right in their instructions for number 3 to go ahead and just use tap water. So they do let you know that tap water is perfectly fine and what they expect you to use. And they want you to spritz the plastic where you sliced your X. Spritz your kit at least twice daily, more if you're in a particular dry climate. Now, we are in Florida, so it's really humid, however, we are indoors, and I plan on growing these indoors, and so we have air conditioning, which naturally dehumidifies the air. So I'll have to keep an eye on this and decide whether I need to do twice daily or just once daily. So I'm going to pull back my X panels, even though they don't talk about that. They just say to just spritz it without pulling it back, which is interesting to me. They do have an additional info blob about humidity, where they talk about living in a dry or arid climate. They say that you might want to put it into an extra bag to create a little humid zone, a humidity tent, if you were. All right, so we're just gonna, I'm gonna stand this up and see if that makes it easier for me to show you what I'm doing. There, now you can see. And so I'm just gonna, this is very awkward. Squirt. Oh, there you go. It's a really nice mist. All right, I sprayed it till it was that full in the mister. It doesn't give me an indication on the directions if I should use, keep squirting until I use all of that mister. But I basically squirted it until I started to see trails of water pouring off the surface. I figured that meant it was moist enough. Now they say to place your kit in the most humid part of your home and outside of direct sunlight. We suggest putting it on a kitchen counter close to a sink So that way you have easy access to give it some more moisture. The mushroom mycelium will sense the oxygen in the air and produce mushroom pins. In another word for baby mushrooms. All right, so that is interesting that the back to the roots wants you to soak it overnight, and the north spore is just kind of a spray and go situation. So I am going to set that aside. I am going to have these all placed in the same area, again, to try to replicate as an equal of a testing ground as possible. So that way I limit as many variables as possible to have a pure-ish scientific adjacent test. There you go. But for now, I'm just gonna set this aside. Next! And that brings us to Happy Caps. Let's see what it says. They have different mushroom types that you can grow, and then they have some instructions right on the back. But we're gonna open it up and see what we have inside. We have a spitzer very similar to the one that came with the Back to the Roots. And we have a mycelium enriched bag. And we also have an additional bag, which I'm assuming is going to be the humidity dome. A note about this bag, it looks roughly the same size as the Back to the Roots bag, and it does have exterior mycelium coverage on all sides. Step 1, open the box and take out the mushroom block. The block should be almost entirely white. It is. Step 2, keep the block inside of the plastic grow bag and cut 1 4-inch cut across the bag. Pull the plastic away from the block to prevent damaging the block. Okay, so they just want you to do a diagonal slice and not an X. Interesting. And they don't want you to disrupt the surface. The same with the north spore. I didn't have to scrape away the surface like the Back to the Roots suggested. So that's an interesting comparison and an interesting contrast between the 3 different kits. So they want you to put this in a spot similar to the directions for north spore, where they want it away from direct light, and they want it to be in the most humid area of your house. And they say, keep away from direct sunlight, drafts, and heaters. A dry block is an unhappy block. Don't be unhappy, be happy. All right, so the kit refers to this extra bag, which is their humidity tent. Roll the opening of the bag like a pant leg and stand it over the block. Set the block on a plate with a piece of damp paper towel underneath the block. So the instructions are a little odd. It appears that they also have them in French. So if you speak French, maybe there's something lost in translation. I don't know. But they want you to roll it like a pants leg, which would be like that, and place it over the block. Curious. All right, so let's get a plate and let's cut our diagonal on this. All right, so I got a plate and I put some folded paper towel on there. I went ahead and put some tap water into my mister, and now I'm going to dampen my paper towel by misting it. Why? Because I felt like it. All right, now I'm going to cut my line, and they just say just a 4-inch diagonal. All right, doing it. And they don't want me to injure the block. Well, that's going to be challenging to try to pull it away so I don't injure the block. I'm just going to cut the bag. Ta! All right, I'm still refreshing on my instructions here because I want to make sure that I'm not doing this wrong. They don't tell you to mist it, though they do show you misting it in step 4. So I think they just want you to keep an eye on it, and if it looks like it's getting dry, to mist it. That's curious. All right, so this box is just the directions. It's not part of the kit. I'm just gonna well, I already have the moist paper towel, and I think that's going to help keep the moisture in. And I think what they actually want you to do is to put this all the way down. So the pant cuff roll is just to keep it, I think, so that it doesn't contract too close. It gives it some stability. But if I put it all the way down around that damp paper towel, that's going to help create a moist environment so that the mushrooms can do their thing. Now, there are holes cut into this humidity dome, and I know through previous mushroom growing experience that is important because the mushrooms do need the oxygen in order to get stimulated and to start pinning. So that's it for that kit. I am all set. I'm going to find a place to put these, and I will see you tomorrow after we're done soaking the Back to the Roots kit. See you then. It's day 2 of our 3 Grow at Home Mushroom Kit experiment. So over here is Happy Caps, and they look to be basically the same. I'm testing their paper towel, and it feels like it's time to give them another squirt. So let's get their mister and squirt them. So this is the Happy Caps mister, and I did fill all 3 misters that came with each of these 3 kits with tap water, so that it's the same water, but just in case there's some weird difference between the misters, which I seriously doubt there is, but who knows? I decided to keep each mister with each kit. So we're going to go ahead and use the Happy Cats mister on the Happy Caps kit. So I'm going to take off this little humidity tent. I'm going to spray the section where I cut it, and then I'm going to spray its towel. Make sure its little base towel is well saturated. Because I believe the concept with that is that the humidity absorbed by the towel with the implications of the humidity tent on top of that will help keep a more even humidity level in the mycelium infused grow block. At least that's my understanding. Hopefully I'm right. All right, we are well misted. We are recapped. And there is Happy Caps ready to go. All right, so next up is North Spore. North Spore looks still like it's pretty well moist, but I'm going to go ahead and give the X cut on this particular one with its mister a good spray. Take off its cap. And make sure you're aimed the right direction. All right. I'm laughing because I just peeled back one of the tabs and managed to flick moisture into my glasses. So that's always fun. Let's take a quick peek here at North Spore. I haven't seen pinning this early in the stage because this has only been 24 hours, but I'm going to give it another little spray and then I'm going to show you something which may or may not be indicative of what's going to happen with North Spore soon. All right, so we look at this kind of as a moonscape, if you will, and I peel back the layers and I see all this unusual activity here. But if I get in there, I'm trying to see if I can show you the elevation from this angle. Can you see it? Right there. I don't know if you can see from this camera angle. I'm trying to get low enough. But right there, there's a little elevated spot that I don't think was there before. I am thinking that section right there might be the very beginning of mushroom pinning? And if so, that is awesome. So yay, North Spore. All right, so that's not conclusive enough for me to really say yay or nay. And it's just been 24 hours here, people. That's asking a little much, even for a high quality mushroom kit. But if so, wow. So now on to Back to the Roots. This is the kit that we have the most experience, that I have the most experience with. So we are done soaking. We're done with our 24-hour window period. And it really wasn't necessary to be 24 hours. It was more of an overnight kind of scenario. But I had stuff to do today, people. I'm sure you have busy lives as well. And so I just let it sit. And now I'm going to pick it out. The water did turn a color, and that's due to the material that the block is made out of. Now I'm going to go ahead and lightly fold these flaps back in, simply so I can get it back into my box. Now, I know there's moisture here, and I probably could have wiped it off a little bit on the exterior, but I didn't. I'm just trying to get it back in the box. Now I'm going to put this one down, and this one down, and hold those together. Put this one there, ta-da! And there's my kit. So now that I got it all in there, pull my flaps back. Now the top flap of this top section actually got stuck when I was putting it back into the box. So I'm going to open the box up again because I was negligent to observe that initially. And I want to tuck that back down. The reason being is I don't want to allow my block to dry out prematurely. And that's why they have all these flaps going on. It's to help limit the humidity from escaping, but still allowing enough oxygen to reach the block to stimulate mushroom growth. All right, since we just took this out of the water and now I have moisture underneath, I know I don't need to mist it. It is fine. It is good. Now, all three of these kits I have sitting, well, this one was just sitting in the bowl, but now they're all going to sit in a window with their back facing the exterior of the window. And this particular window never receives direct sunlight, as it's the window into my carport. So the carport extends beyond this window, creating an indirect sunlight situation. And then with the addition of their backs being towards the window, they're definitely having indirect light exposed on them. But I have done in my multitude of hours of mushroom research, because I'm slightly obsessed with mushrooms, that these particular mushrooms do need a little bit of light. These aren't the kind that you grow in the dark. So that indirect light is going to help with their development. So this is where we're at day 2, and I will be back with you when we have more things to share. Okay, we are back with our day 5 update. As you can see, some things have changed drastically, while others not so much. Let's go in close to the Back to the Roots Organic Mushroom Grow Kit. This is the obvious winner thus far. As you can see, the full cut side is top to bottom filled with mushrooms. And we've gone past the pinning stage, ladies and gentlemen. These are little baby mushrooms. Look at them. They're adorable. And there are so many. So now that we have this development on this particular kit, I am going to stop misting them, because if I continue to mist the growth that has already occurred, I may actually inadvertently damage them. Next up is the North Spore Grow Kit. If you recall, last time we visited, this is the one that actually showed some sign of pinning. But if I move the flaps, I'm not really seeing much activity. Perhaps down in this region over here, I do see what may be pinning. I'm not really sure. And I do notice at the very bottom here, some water is collecting. I'm not too concerned about that, but I may actually take that over to the sink and let that drain out before I mist it again, just in case that's causing me some problems that I'm unaware of. Last up is the Happy Caps kit. I've gone ahead and removed its humidity tarp so that way we can see what is occurring. And as you see, we're up close and personal. And look, it's a little pinning cluster. Now, this is at the very bottom of that one diagonal slit that they had me cut into this. So I'm hopeful that as those start to fruit, that's a technical term for mushroom growing, that those pinnings will spread upwards along the cut line and we will get more mushrooms. So that is it for the day 5 update. I will come back and show you what's new once we have something to show you. This is day 6 update shot straight from the window. These mushrooms in the Back to the Roots kit are looking even more mushroom-like. But check this out. That little tiny bit of pinning. And happy caps. I'm getting happy. Let me pull out the tent here a little bit so you can see better. They're starting to look like mushrooms. Not much expansion up the slit there, but certainly some girth. And then over to North Spore. I don't really see much happening. Let's take a peek under the lid here. Yeah, I don't really see much going on. Might have to reassess that. And that's it for day 6. All right, so we're at day 8, and what a difference a couple of days make, right? Let's focus in on North Spore. Now, I'm not seeing any significant sign of anything really, but I did some further research on this particular kit, and it can go anywhere to 14 days before you see pinning. So we're only at day 8, so I'm still going to give it some time. However, if we move to Back to the Roots, this is ready to harvest. Look at the beautiful flesh of mushrooms. And flesh is a term that they use for this type of growing, and that full cluster there is a flesh of mushrooms. Now, as I mentioned before, I should be able to get a couple of more fleshes from this particular kit. All I need to do is re-soak for 24 hours and flip it over, do another X, and keep on going. Next. Happy caps. It's crazy comparing these two mushroom kits together. These are basically the same type of mushrooms, but just grown in slightly different environments. This is like some beautiful art sculpture piece now going on. But these mushrooms are ready to harvest as well. You can see that the caps didn't flatten out because I still had the humidity tent on them. So they had a slightly different environment. There was more humidity, there was less oxygen. So they were searching for oxygen because mushrooms actually breathe to a sense. They expel CO2 and they take in oxygen. So that's why these look slightly unusual. But you can see the gills on the underside saying that these are ready to harvest as well. As both the Back to the Roots and the Happy Caps kits were ready to harvest, I went ahead and used the humidifying cover that came with the Happy Caps kit on the North Spore kit, because it did say on the North Spore kit that if you were having problems with pinning, more than likely you weren't having a humid enough environment. Now I want to take this off and show you what happened. You can probably see from your point already. As soon as I put that on, I started getting pinning in multiple areas along my cut front. So that tells me that's all this kit needed, was just a little more humidity. If you find the need to add a bag, you want to make sure that it is clear plastic so that way some light can come through, and that it has plenty of holes in it, because mushrooms do breathe. They need oxygen and they need to expel CO2. So you want to have enough airflow that they can continue that breathing cycle, but also a limited amount of airflow so that it has the right amount of humidity. And this is where my shotgun fruiting chamber might really come in handy. I'll put a link to the description below about that project that I did in a separate video, so that way if you decide to go with the North Spore kits, or basically any kit, they work really well in that environment because it keeps a steady amount of humidity and it also has plenty of airflow. If I were to rate these kits based on just what they came with, then I would say my highest score would go to the Back to the Roots kit. I had full coverage of mushrooms, it pinned really quickly, and it's ready to go for multiple fleshes on that one kit. Now, North Spore, once I had the addition of the bag, I would say came in second for me because, as you can see, I have more mushrooms growing on this one face versus the one little patch that I got off of the Happy Caps. I know I'm going to be able to get multiple flushes from all three of these kits, so that's going to be an equalizing rating factor on all of those. I was really expecting a lot more from North Spore, and I'm going to say, because it started up right away when I put the bag on, it's basically just my particular environment wasn't conducive to a good growth on the North Spore kit. Now, there are plenty of other accessories you can get for these kits and for growing mushrooms that are really going to enhance the environment and make it perfect for mushroom growing. In those scenarios, I'm going to guess that I would have vastly different results. The substrate seems to be relatively similar. The inoculation of the substrate with the mushroom mycelium seems to be pretty much similar across the board, but with this quick experiment, this one-time 3-week experiment, my vote's gonna go to Back to the Roots. But basically, if you can get your hands on a mushroom kit, I say get it and give it a try. These spray and grow mushroom kits are really fun and really rewarding, and the mushrooms taste fantastic. So there you go, that's my end result. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on City Studying Plant Life.